Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and today I'm reviewing Chomp from Allplay. Chomp is a 1-4 player card laying game which players are going to be drafting 9 cards across the course of the game. Well, technically they start with 1 card, but then you draft 8 more cards. Players are going to be drafting, having 9 cards in the display at the end of the game, overlaying each other, trying to give points for various things, all trying to score as many points as possible by the end of the game. In the game, you're going to have a center tableau over here. You're going to have 3 goal cards that give you different ways of scoring extra points. You're going to have these cards that go into your display. You're going to have this, which is a reminder of how you score points for things. Basically, dinosaurs are good unless they're dead, in which case, I mean, they're still good, they're just not scoring you points, I guess. And then past that, you can also go ahead and draft goal cards in order to give you additional ways of scoring points, which we'll come back to soon. You're going to start with a center card over here, and on your turn, you're going to reach over, you're going to grab any one card, you're going to put it into your display. Now, if you grab a card from the scenic cards over here, you're going to go ahead and flip over the next card, and then put another card into play as a new goal. But on the other hand, if you choose to grab one of the goal cards, you're simply going to replace it directly. So you're always going to have new goal cards coming out, regardless of how you do it. Some of those will filter down to the scenic cards, and either way, they're going into your display where they can either go next to other cards or they can overlay certain cards to score as many points as possible. Now, this may not have been the best card to take, but I just want to show you how this works over here. We're going to go ahead and put this down over here like so, and we'll explain the reason for all that soon enough. But let's go ahead and take another card. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just grab a bunch of cards and build out my display showing you how it works, but just understand that you'd be doing it in turn order. You'd be grabbing a card, putting a display, going round and around and around until you eventually have 9 total cards, your starting card, and then 8 more cards, and then some of them might be, the landscape cards, and some of them might be additional ways of scoring points. So, let's go ahead and see if we can score some points. Let's just rapidly go through this and try to build the best scoring points we can, best scoring display we can. Let's go ahead and take this one because honestly I think it's a fun one. I've never actually used this as a goal card. We're going to put a new one out over here. We do want to get more herbivores in play. I think can be a good thing. So placing this down like this is definitely a good way to do that. I like that over here. In fact, we're gonna have to go ahead and just deal with. I'm gonna go ahead and build this a little off camera and then just see how things play out. I'm gonna go for 9 cards total. So we are going to go for 9 cards over here. You would normally have this pile limited based on the player count, but I just have the whole stack there. You know what? Let's go ahead and grab this one over here because that could be useful. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and do that. We're going to figure this out. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. We're just going to build out a rapid display of cards, trying to score as many points as possible. This could be good over there, but honestly, I think I like it over here like so. No, I don't like that there. I don't like that. We're going to go ahead and grab, let's grab this one over here because, nope, we need to go ahead and grab one of these. You know what? Let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and put this down over here like so. We're going to do that there, and I'm going to draw this down over here. We're going to grab another one. This will all make sense shortly as I start to. In fact, we're going to start this to be face down. We're going to move these up a bit so we can see my display a bit more on the camera, but I'll move it all up for you later. But this way, we can go ahead and see how these things play out. And again, you could overlay. I haven't done so yet, but I'm actually about to do so in a second because I think I'm going to grab one of these over here. We're going to grab this and put this down over here, which I think is going to keep some dinosaurs alive for me in the good sense. Oh, it doesn't actually keep them alive. Oh well, we'll figure it out. Anyways, again, like I said, I'm not spending too much time in this. We're currently at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards right now. Let's see what else we can do. Let's see what these cards give us over here. 2 per meat, 1 point per card in your land with no cards on top of it. Honestly, that's not a bad one because most of my cards have had no cards on top of it. So let's take that as another goal. Let's go ahead and put this down over here. We want more dinosaurs. Maybe, I don't know if we care necessarily. We definitely don't want those guys touching over there. That guy could be good. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and put this guy down over here because this will help me with that goal. So we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? We're at 9 cards. There we go. So that's basically the way the game plays out as far as your actual tile selection, just usually with other players drawing cards at the same time. But this will enable you to enable me to show you how things score as you play through this game. So let's go ahead and move these up over here so we can see it all properly on camera and you can see exactly how everything's going to score. Now, again, I did go very quickly in this game because I was focused on literally just trying to make this work as opposed to any efficiency, but let's talk about how things score. So, the basic idea of the game is you're going to score for your dinosaurs depending on how things are. Now, one thing we didn't really see, but if you have a tar pit, any dinosaurs next to a tar pit would die. So any dinosaurs that are next to a tar pit right now would immediately die and be covered by any of these to indicate that they are dead. That's not the case right now because I don't have a tar pit, so we could ignore that, which means the next thing we look at is what dinosaurs are fed. Now, carnivores are fed if they're next to herbivores, but in which case they kill the herbivores, or if they're next to this little pot of like tiny little cute animals. The problem is we have a wall here, which means both these carnivores are unfortunately dead. We're going to mark them as dead. They will not score any points, at least not right now. This one over here is alive, but it did kill this. It's also worth noting, whenever you grab cards that have eggs in them, you can put eggs on existing nests, which are going to be worth 2 points each. This herbivore over here is dead because it's next to to these carnivores. These carnivores, I'll eat them. This carnivore over here, unfortunately, kills these herbivores, which I didn't notice. So we got some more dead herbivores over there. Technically, we should put some 2 tokens down over there. Not that it'll matter for what we're doing over here. Then, these herbivores are fed because they're next to this, the leafy vegetation. But in general, the way these work is it's always based on the full herd. So because this carnivore is next to this herbivore, it's next to the whole entire herd dies. Similarly, this is part of the same herd and it stays alive because it's next to this herbivore, which is next to the leafy vegetation. This carnivore over here is next to the plants over here, so this one will stay alive as well, and that's basically where everything ends up. Oh wait, no, we got one more dead herbivore because this guy over here is not fed, unfortunately. There's no leafy vegetation. Even though he's not being eaten by a carnivore, he's still dies because there's no leafy vegetation. And that's what we're left over here. We're left with this little display over here of things left alive, and that's what we're going to go ahead and take this and score. You get 3 points for every large dinosaur, 2 points for every medium dinosaur, 1 point for every small dinosaur, and 2 points for every egg is going to be a score, which means right about now, we would score 3, 6 points right there, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 points for our dinosaurs, which by the way, is a low scoring dinosaur game. But we got some things to catch us up. So 11 points for our dinosaurs, we got 2 points for each egg over here, that's going to be another 4 points, that brings us to 15, and then you have your goal cards. Goal cards over here, we have 1 point per card in your land with no card on top of it. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of our cards. So we're going to go from 15 to 21, and then 3 points per plant in your largest group of connected plants. That's where we're going to come back over here because we specifically built this as fast as possible with that one thing in mind, which means we go from 21, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus another 18 points, bringing me to 39 points, which honestly is not a bad score for the game. That's basically how you play Chomp. You grab a bunch of cards, so you have 9 cards total, including your goal cards, including your starting card, including all the overlaying or adjacent cards. You score for the dinosaurs that are left alive once you go through that full extinction process. You score for the eggs, and you score for your goal cards, and see what your score is, and that is how you play Chomp. We will talk about the expansion and solo mode soon enough, but that's basically the core idea of the game. Which brings us to a review, starting off with ease of play. Like most all-play games, this is a 2-page rulebook. It is like just open, shut, basic rules, very easy to jump into, very easy to teach, get people up and running. It's an incredibly accessible game that is true for basically every all-play game I have ever played. They are incredibly easy to teach, dive into, play. That is their core way they operate, and they do a great job as far as that goes. As far as game time, you can knock out a game of Chomp in 15 minutes, maybe 20, 25 if you're really taking a long time. This is a fast-moving game, very accessible, very easy to play. Table space does get a bit much over here. This looks like a small box game because, this is the size of the box, but you can have all these cards just laid out all over the table. This is a single player's play area. It does get a lot bigger than the game looks like, so it's a bit deceptive in that sense. It's harder to play in a small play area. As far as what I like, don't like, and can see as not liking, I like overlaying cards in general. Any game that gives you the option to overlay cards, play things on top of each other, whether Nemalia, Sprawlopolis, Honshu, there's so many games that do it, but I generally like that concept. It gives you a lot more to puzzle with. It's not just about placing things. You can place, but you can also overlay. In some games, you have to overlay. I like that system, and I like the way it's executed over here. There's some small rules we didn't get into. So, for example, you can't partially overlay a dinosaur. It's either all or nothing when it's the larger dinosaurs. But past that, you're overlaying cards. I didn't talk about how these walls will block things off. So this dinosaur died because there's a wall here, so it's not actually next to that little bunch of small animals. They would otherwise both be alive, and I have 6 more points if I had done that. Or if the wall wasn't there, I should say. But generally, this is a fast-moving game. It's overlaying cards. It gives you a lot of point-scoring things to consider. You're building out an ecosystem and watching that ecosystem just completely fold in on itself, and you are trying to be as efficient as possible as you go through it. So it's just a fun little game system. And the goals keep it nearly infinitely variable because you have 36 cards, each with a different goal in the back, which means every single game has the core system, the core premise. But then if you have 1 or 2 goals in any combination, it totally changes the way you score. So the goals give you a lot of variety to the system at the cost of the fact that you only have 9 cards, and so there's a limit of what you can do as far as the game system runs. But then the end game rundown, the end game of, hey, look what I just built, now let's watch everything collapse on itself. Let's watch to see if their herbivores die, if the dinosaurs kill each other, if they all die from tar pits. The end game, just watching it all unfurl, is a very satisfying experience, and the point scoring optimization combined with the variability of the goals just gives you a lot of things to think about in this short, small filler game. As far as things I don't like in the game, first of all, I'll say that the solo mode and the expansion do not impress me. The solo mode is going to be basically the same idea of the system, but you're operating with specific cards over here that give you a specific little indicator on the bottom, so you're playing only with those. The reason the solo mode didn't work for me is I played it once, and I got the highest, they say a 36 is the highest score here. I think I had 72 points in that one solo game I played. Now, it is entirely possible that I just got the right combination of things, but that immediately deflated me on the solo mode. I was like, oh, yay, just doubled the highest score they have here, assuming I played it correctly. That's always a question mark, but assuming I played it correctly, it just kind of made me lose interest in the solo mode right away. Now, granted, it's based on a single play, so it might just be the combination of cards, but that will lead into something else I'll say in a second. But that's the solo mode. So solo mode didn't work for me in that sense, and I was excited for it because I like the idea that you have specific goal cards. You're given specific goal cards or random goal cards that you have to try to achieve the score while trying to do that. Again, I just thought it was too easy, so kind of ruined it for me. And then flyers and scavengers over here. The expansion over here, this is basically giving you patterns of cards. You either want to have patterns of these dinosaurs either alive or dead, depending on whether you're playing with flyers and scavengers, and it'll give you the listed points if you achieve that. I didn't find it rewarding. It was okay. I don't know. I think within the puzzle of what the game is trying to do, I just found the flyers and scavengers to not be a satisfying expansion, and I'm reluctant. Like, I'm not going to get rid of it, but I don't imagine I'll ever be playing with the expansion much again. It didn't add to the experience for me. It added to the things you have to be mindful of without adding to the enjoyment of the game. But as far as the game itself, overall I like the game, which I went through all the stuff where currently the things I don't like. The other thing I don't like, feeding into that solo aspect I talked about, some of the goals feel like they might be overpowered. Not all goals in the game are created even. Some goals feel like they'll max out at 7-8 points, and other goals feel like they can give you 18-20 points. Yes, you do have to jump through hoops to get those goals, but some of those hoops don't feel as punishing or hard or challenging as others. There are some goals there are some goal cards that have become a go-to as far as trying to gather those cards because they feel stronger in the game. And that's going to be the biggest critique I have on this game, which would bother me more, except I still consider this a lighter filler game. It's not like a long game where I really care who wins. But I will say I wish the goal cards felt a bit more balanced. That's the biggest critique I have. Past the fact that the end game kind of has you running out of all the cards, which means player order is an advantage in the game because the person who goes, if you're playing a 4-player game, the person who goes, first, they have a lot more selection as far as their final turn, whereas the person who goes last is drawing a single card from a single card left, which feels a bit punishing, especially if it's a tar pit card, because that can really mess with you. So the end game also feels like there could be a bit of things tweaked around it. So overall, just some things that I feel could use some tweaks as far as the balance and approach of the game. I like the game a lot. Let's come back to some final thoughts. We'll come back to it. But either way, that's going to be that. And the last thing, things I don't like, I'll say some of the gold cards also are not clear, and there's not really a rule breakdown as far as how they operate. And so some of them you have to hop into the forum and see what the consensus is. Some of them you may have just house rule. I'd say the gold cards weren't always 1,000,000% clear as far as how they score. So a bunch of things I like, but also some things that get in the way. As far as what I can see others not liking, a few small things there. The biggest thing I'll say is there's not a ton of cards being played in this game. This is a game that has 9 cards. You are trying to do everything you can with 9 cards. I do feel like you get enough done that it really falls into that filler mode. And obviously, if you're playing this as like a 2 or 3 player game, you could adjust around the card count. If you're playing a 3-player game, you could have 12 cards per person. If you're playing a 2-player game, you could have right? Yeah, if you play a 2-player game, you can have 18 cards per person. And honestly, I would do that in the game. That's the main reason it doesn't bother me, is because I'll get those larger sprawling maps by playing a 2 or 3 player and just house ruling the amount of cards. Will it change the balance? Possibly, but honestly, my biggest critique against the game is currently already balanced, so I'm just here to have a fun time anyway as far as the game system goes. But yeah, if you're playing a 4-player game, you are limited to 9 cards per person. That's just the card count available, and there's not much you can do around that. I'll say that you can't always plan around the cards. Whether it's the goals, whether it's the cards that come out, whether it's that endgame aspect, you don't always have the full agency and planning you'd like to as you build things out. Sometimes you just get a card and you have to work with what you have, and again, not a big deal. It's a filler game, but that could be a factor. As far as final thoughts on Chomp, I'm a little bit mixed on this one because I have a lot of fun with this game. I had a chance to play this at PAX Unplugged. Just, sat down, demoed it, immediately wanted a copy, and then from there, since then, I've played this game a bunch. I've played it a bunch multiplayer, different player counts, I've played it solo, I've played it with the expansion. It's been an easy game for me to sit down and play, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. My instinctive rating for this game is a 4 out of 5. I think it's a very satisfying solo game, but I am conflicted on that 4 out of 5. I'm going to leave it, by the way. For the record, I'm leaving it as a 4 out of 5. I like the game. Ratings are always, I have a whole breakdown of what my ratings mean, and ultimately where I am on this game right now is a 4 out of 5, but I want to be clear while I give that rating that I do think there are balance issues at play here. I do not think this is a cleanly balanced game, and it bothers me a lot to give a game a 4 out of 5 and also talk about how there's balance issues, but ultimately, my rating system does reflect my own personal desire to play it. I'm having a lot of fun with this. I'm excited to play it again. I'm still excited, still enjoying this game. I don't know if it holds up over time. That's going to be a big thing with this game. This is a lighter filler game, which means down the road, maybe I find myself, having explored as much as possible, although I do think the variable goals will help keep it fresh and alive, with the caveat that I do think there are balance issues here. I want to emphasize both things. I really enjoy Chomp. I have a lot of fun with Chomp. It is one of my new favorite all-play games. It's so easy to play. It's a great filler. It's a lot of fun. Plays well at different player counts. All those things are good. And ultimately, I think if you're looking for a cleanly balanced game that's going to reward you for good play, you might find that you lose Chomp to someone who just drafted a more powerful scoring card than you did, and that's where the game ends up. So if you really care about that thing, then I'd say that you should be more mindful as to whether Chomp is a game that's right for you or not. In any case, as far as other game recommendations, if you're looking for other games, I'm going to give you one solo and one two-player. As far as other games that will give you overlaying cards and, well, you know, the fun of overlaying cards. We have Circle the Wagons as a two-player game from Button Shy Games. Fantastic overlaying cards. You also have the variable goals, but it's more of a collective variable goals as opposed to these. Honestly, there's things you could do as far as adjusting for this game by just giving variable goals in play. Honestly, now that I think about it. You know, we'll come back to that in a second. I'm going to adjust the variant in a second. So yeah, Circle the Wagons over there, that's going to be a good game. That'll give you that. And then lastly, I'll say Sprawlopolis as well. Sprawlopolis is going to give you the more of that solo puzzle, but again, with variable goals that keep the game fresh, and then just overlaying cards, place them next to each other and all of that as you enjoy the system. As far as the thing I just realized while talking with the recommendations, I think I'm going to be trying Chomp in a different format. I haven't exactly figured this out because I'm literally making this up as I speak to you right now, but I think I would very much enjoy Chomp if we got rid of the entire drafting based on goals, but rather if you took any 3 goals, and granted this would make this more similar to Circle the Wagons or Sprawlopolis, but I think I'd still enjoy it if you just took any goals over here and just put them out, hey, by the way everyone, these are the 3 goals we're playing with this game, and then you just had players draft 9 landscape cards, or if you're playing a higher player count, you could just do fewer. I guess if you're playing a 4-player game, you could have everyone having you could have 4 public goals in the middle, and then everyone else having 8 cards to place only as landscapes. I think that's the way I want to play Chomp. I mean, I'm making this up on the fly here, so take all of this with a heavy grain of salt, but I think if I was playing a 4-player game of Chomp, I would put 4 goals in the middle, and then have everyone else simply drafting 8 cards into the tableau without the ability to gather goals. I think that would solve my biggest issue with the game, which is the balance of the goals. Cool. Okay, cool. Well, I'll be playing Chomp that way. Enjoy that for your random things that happen at the end of a review. Until next time, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do choose to play with that variant that I just made up, let me know, because I really think that addresses my biggest complaint with the game. It takes away some of the interesting decisions you make. It does. So there is a balance there. I don't think I've solved Chomp. I just think I want to try a different version of it. In any case, yeah, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video and the chaotic ending of the video. And as always, I hope you have a good one.